Managing your time has a lot to do with respecting yourself, not necessarily respecting others.
Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Remington Ramsey, and today from Tucson, Arizona, my friend Tyler Lopez is joining the show. How you doing, Tyler?
Good, man. Thanks for having me. How are you?
The point where I want to start in your story is where you were a professional BMX rider out there in the hub of BMX riding in Tucson, Arizona. How did being in BMX land you into this monster real estate agent that you are now?
I've had a lot of time to think about this over the years, man, and I realized that everything in life is basically relationship building. I got to hang out with a lot of older kids when I was young. They were real influential with me, or so I thought, but at the same time, they were really just asking me to do a lot of things that they were scared to do. I was always the first kid to go first, try the first jump. You know, it's not like we were engineers or geometrists that could set up these jumps and build stuff out of dirt as a little kid, and hopefully it works out right. But I was always the one that went first. So when we started racing as a little kid, I mean, it was such a huge community, a lot of really, really high, good talent. And I think a lot of the people that I grew up around, we really learned how to compete on our own and be independent while still racing and winning with the team. So that has a lot to do with the structure of my business that got us here too.
Yeah. Now you're saying racing, because there's BMX trick, which is what I think of when I think of BMX, but you actually raced.
You're right. Well, I never did anything freestyle competitively, but racing. And my sister still races. A lot of guys in Tucson still race. There's still a lot of my buddies. I've sold them a lot of houses, and it's really cool to see eye to eye with people that know how to compete. And That doesn't mean racing or freestyle. I mean, the allure and the euphoria of doing something good on a bike doesn't change from medium to medium, you know?
Yeah. Do you still ride just messing around and race other people, or did you give it up?
No, I gave it up a long time ago. You know, and unfortunately, I've got a different purpose. You know, I still have a lot of love for the sport. I'm just, to be honest, I'm just too old. I'm too out of shape. No way I don't think I can handle getting hurt.
Well, you landed in a place that suits you, which is real estate. We've got a lot to talk about in terms of leadership principles, core principles. You wrote a book that, at the timing of this filming is day one of publishing. You just sent it to the publisher. So tell us about the book. The book title is called The Best Way to Do Everything Wrong. It's a very compelling title. Tell me about it.
Well, a lot about the book has everything to do with recognizing when things are in the way that seem like real big blips and something where you got to take 10 steps back. But the book is a lot about the principles that I have to recognize that the things that are happening to you are happening for you and not to you. You know, it's more of a progression of business, the same way that I think about, let's say, relationships with a wife or girlfriend, whoever it is. That's not in the book because I don't want people to relate having to have the exact life that I have. And saying, if we live the same life, then these principles apply to me. I want them to apply to everybody in the sense that you're with somebody for 20 years, you're a different person every 5 years. And you have to relearn that person, and you have to re-engage, and you have to care and show trust. And that's where we came up with our principles of giving, grace, and gratitude. Our team motto is investing in the future of our clients through intentional giving, grace, and gratitude. So the book has a lot to do with recognizing progression of your relationship and knowing how to manage it with yourself. I don't think like this anymore. I don't know why this is happening to me. Why does everybody need money from me? Why are people making such snap decisions around me? And it's because you get to a certain point before you really, really start to excel, to not have the things that people are now making your responsibility your problem. They're now your responsibility. And they used to be problems, and the book has a lot to do with recognizing how to bridge the gap between who you were and who you want to be.
Are you writing it in hopes that the main person that reads this is in real estate, or is it more of in life?
It's really in life. There's a series of books that I have planned. The next one's The Best Way to Do Everything Right, and that has everything to do with time management. And then the last book is The Best Way to Do Everything, which is all about leverage. So I've got this whole training lesson, and a lot of the speeches and stuff that I do is how to make $100,000, how to make up to $500,000, and how to make over $1 million in real estate. And when I realized that I work at a certain level where it's completely it's just not comprehensible to those who are seeking help. That advice goes to people who have already been helped and are already doing well and go, good job, dude. I realize that that's super ineffective. So a lot of the book progression has to do with you have to have a certain understanding of these things to know how to manage your time. We can't manage your time before you know what to do, and then the last book about leverage is more about combining those two things to be paid for what you know instead of what you do, which is one of the chapters in the book too.
Give me a teaser for what the difference between a message of how to make 100K versus how to make 500K. Is it the core message is the same with different principles for 500 if you're looking to take that extra jump, or is it a completely different message?
Kind of the same message. Again, it's a lot of progressional conversation. So managing your time has a lot to do with respecting yourself, not necessarily respecting others. So in order to make $100,000, the first step in a lot of that is learning how to respect others well before you respect yourself, because you're trying to become somebody new. So you have to be open to the new thoughts and procedures and psychological advances that you have in order to become the person that you're looking up to. So the next part of that is essentially different principles that put you into the next phase of your career, if that's what you want. I've spent a lot of time in my career trying to convince myself that everybody that I'm around or everybody that I want to coach wants to make more money. And that's not necessarily it from what I find. That's why I had mixed these books up into 3 different things, because once it gets to time management, it's crazy that that's the thing that real estate agents think they have it all figured out, which is literally the only thing nobody really has perfected. I'm pretty good at it, but unless I work at it every day, it's crazy to hear other people say, "Oh yeah, no, that's no problem. I know how to do that."
You mentioned that not everyone is looking to make more money, and I agree with that. But let me ask you this: if someone decides I do want to make more money, is everyone who gets into real estate capable of getting that next tier at 500,000 in income?
Absolutely not. No way.
Okay.
No way.
What keeps someone? What would tell you yes, this person is incapable of making 500,000 in real estate?
The way they treat people. The way they treat people when they don't think nobody's looking. So one of the chapters in the book is that no one notices nothing. And essentially a lot of that whole entire chapter has to do with invisibility being it's a weapon, it's a shield. It's not good. And so the people that sit back and observe versus the people that go out and do are the people that are talking about how much they're selling. It's the people that have an opinion and will tell everybody else how to do it before they look at themselves as the example. So in order to make $500,000, you have to be the example. You can't be the voice. You have to be both.
Can that be taught? I mean, if that's the only thing holding them back, are they able to change that in themselves?
When I see people have very small wins and treat them as huge successes, they really get caught up in their career chasing those small wins rather than developing a business or working towards a legacy. So a lot of people I found out haven't had a lot of wins in their lives. So when they start doing well in real estate, they do one thing well, and that's good enough for a lot of their career. And so when I get to end up coaching or getting in front of them, it's crazy how much they already know. And the people that make over 5 typically have the most open mind. And once you're in a certain income level, the people that I started to meet, it's crazy how shocked they are that I want to know about them, and I want to know how they got there, and I want to know the things that got in their way, rather than asking them, how much money do you make and how do I make that much? There's a transition period really between 100,000 and $1 million to figure out what's actually important to you and what do you expect as a value to yourself. Another saying that I have is that people know the price of everything and the value of nothing. And that is an Oscar Wilde quote though too. And it's that people are so focused on how much things are debited out of their account versus how much it credits their future.
Have you ever seen the movie Whiplash?
Yeah. So I love that movie.
Yeah. And Whiplash, it's about a drummer who wants to be a great jazz musician and a conductor that basically does everything he can to get greatness out of somebody, even being abusive at times. But in the movie, it makes you question, he breaks up with a girlfriend that he recently gets halfway through because he's like, I want to be great. And I can't have anything standing in the way, including relationships. So if someone is trying to make 500,000 or $1 million, where in a world where most people are making under 100,000 in real estate, and then there's a second tier where we're making 6 figures, is it possible to get to those levels while still keeping family a priority, which seems to be the first thing people put on the back burner to get those numbers?
Right. And that's where we learn how to do everything wrong. I found out everybody that we've hired in the past and any company I've ever started and anybody that's had any problems in their company, they don't have support at home. And so when you're starting to build and you're starting to value yourself in a different way and value your business, your family has to be on board. They'll be the first people to have an opinion, and they'll be the first people to tell you, hey, you're working too much, or give it a break, or, there's thousands of books about that part. But what my focus has a lot to do with is you have to be vocal with the people at home. They have to be able to support you because they don't understand what you're doing for a living. They don't understand your schedule. They definitely don't understand the guy that you work for, which is me. So they have to be vocal and say, hey, this is important to us, not just important to me. And the sooner that business people can get to that point of having a conversation with their family of, oh, dad's at work late again, instead of thank God dad's at work late again. That means he's out making money. There's two very different perspectives that it associates with. Is the bad part is that the latter part of dad's at work late is always associated with he's out doing something wrong or bad or deceitful because we're going against somebody else's expectations we didn't know they had. So late nights are okay. Early mornings are even better. Long days are beneficial. And the only way that you could ever feel bad about any of that is that if you stayed late and actually didn't do anything. So when we're very purpose driven and very intentional, these conversations are very easy to have with, let's say, your girlfriend, your wife, or whoever it is, rather than just having a partner to support you to go to work or have someone to sleep next to. Having people that fulfill a certain gap in your life and the things that you need. I've got a very, very consistent schedule of what we call breaking bread. And I have breakfast 3 days a week with a certain group of people, and I have happy hour 3 days a week with a certain group of people. And everything is built around them associating and being able to bring their family and say, hey, look, let me show you what this is. Instead of just coming home and telling you and complaining to you, let me show you what it's like and provide value wherever we go.
Let me ask you that about you. You mentioned like the kids have the right perspective of what dad is doing when he's out. It's not the same conversation as, oh, dad is out and it's bad. If you have a healthy relationship and you've got, because I've said a version of that when it comes to seasons of life. If you have a conversation with somebody in your family that this is impacting the most, you need to let them know how this will impact the family in a positive way if these certain sacrifices are made for a season. But how consistently can dad be out late at night and working, even if he is doing that for the good of the family? Is there a threshold? Is there a certain amount of time where it does become damaging?
Respect, sun up to sundown is my best advice. And a lot of these tactful advice pieces that I have, I know that there's not a right way to do anything, but there is definitely a wrong way. So going home and saying, hey, listen, I'll be home when the sun comes down. If it's super dark, these are literal rules. It's not like this up for interpretation thing. They go, instead of saying go home and tell your wife that you're working late and see what she says, go, hey, I have, expectations of myself that, I can't make money when the sun is down and I'll be home then. And you can expect those things of me, and putting them in stone. A lot of people want to be flexible in their policies, and that's just not really the most secure way. And it's really a stressful way to run a business, and your family is often the people that have the biggest opinion. So ultimately what I'm getting at is when your family understands that your purpose is to take care of yourself so that you can take care of your family. There's a lot to take away from the Zig Ziglar quote of, if you will take care of you for me, I will take care of me for you. And if I'm out late and I'm working, there's something on my mind. There's something I have to take care of, and I'm keeping it from home. I'm not keeping myself from home. I'm keeping that out of my family's benefit to what I've promised them I'm going to do. And you can't really give those promises until you have any success. And that's why I have that first gap of what does it take to make $100,000? It's all mindset. You have to get out of the way and have to be willing to have those conversations with your family, because how would you ever imagine to have it with, an employee or somebody that works for you if you can't do it with the easiest person to talk to, or essentially.
So that would be the sacrifice is trying to get to, and we're just throwing out numbers here, but 500K, $1 million. Your argument here would be if you're not willing to work sun up to sun down, that it's probably not going to be feasible for you to get to those numbers.
No, not necessarily, man. I had to study a lot of different things. I like studying people who study people. So when we start to associate ourselves with certain behaviors and certain things that we're looking forward to, it's really easy to get confused, and it's really easy to get sidetracked, and it's really easy to start doing the wrong thing because you're just busy trying to look busy. And so the certain threshold is figuring out, I don't have to work sun up to sundown. I could probably get what I'm really good at done in an hour, the things that actually make me money. So there's plenty of things in my perfect schedule, and things that I make very important is that I have to work on my business, I have to work with my business, and I have to work on my business. And those are Mondays and Fridays, I work in my business. I'm a real estate agent. I'm selling houses. I'm in the dirt. I'm in the grind. Tuesdays and Thursdays, I work with my business, and that's with my team meetings, one-on-ones, whatever they need. And then on Wednesdays, I work on my business, which is all the forms, this kind of stuff, prepping for interviews, writing, reading, training lessons, that sort of stuff. So setting that example of, if you got what you needed to get done, you're good. You don't have to beat yourself up, but there's a good chance you didn't do it yesterday, and you didn't do it the day before, and you didn't do it the day before. So people constantly have this revolving door of, I have to catch up rather than starting new. And that's why we hear a lot of business people saying, start from zero every day. It's a theory. Yeah. But, in real estate, we really do, I got to find a new client. Today I'm out of business. Tomorrow, maybe not.
Well, to put a bow on that whole conversation, this is a quote that came from your conversation with Bobby, but make sure your family gets the best of you, not the rest of you. I wholeheartedly agree with that. I think that's really strong. And if your mind is elsewhere, they're definitely not getting the best of you. Let's shift gears to your team. So you do a lot of coaching. You take pride in coaching. And we were talking in the pre-show about bad hires and what the impact can be on your team if you make a bad hire. Dig into that for me.
So I guess starting from the end game on here is the people that have worked with you, and the people you've inspired, the people you've motivated, and the people that carry on all the things you've taught them. The goal is always to have people speak positively about you once they've left you. I had a really good coach for a very, very long time, and he always prepped me to say, you're trying to hire the high school stars, and you're trying to win them a Heisman Trophy in college, and eventually they're going to go to the NFL. But the idea is that I want them to be an NFL coach with me, and so it's this mindset of, I need somebody that is here for the long haul. I've never had a coach that hasn't had longevity and culture in mind well before profits and procedure. So
good coach, that is.
I mean, it's really, I'm really grateful to have looked up to people that are in the spot that I would prefer to be in a lot of ways. And fortunately, money does buy a certain allotment of life, and they've proved that it's not evil. It's not a bad thing. So a lot of these people that we've ever hired, I personally put this commitment on myself to make sure that they know my priority is to make sure that I fulfill the promises I've made to them. So a lot of the people, before they even come on the team, they haven't really realized that we've been interviewing them for months and months and months and months, and the whole team has a lot of say, and it's a very tight fit, because one of the things we talk about most of our meetings is nobody should ever know how good we are until they use somebody else. And that really sucks. And to have that right mentality, I have to promise more than they promise me contractually. So making a bad hire is somebody that goes, I didn't sign up for this, and then they go work for somebody else and have an opinion, versus looking at the numbers and what we do and our reputation. So a bad hire often comes from misunderstanding or a disrespect level of some sort that you weren't really aware of. We lost 3 people this year for bizarre misunderstandings that could have been easily solved.
When you're saying that, like, you basically have group interviews, or you have your whole team is in on the decision making process for someone who is hired, what do you do if, like, pretty much everyone is on board except for maybe one person? Have you had that happen?
Most every time.
Most every time there's someone that is not vibing.
Sure. And sometimes that's okay, because that gives me the opportunity to look at whoever said that and understand what might be in their way of growth. Because if we're judging somebody who has the ambition and the same drive and strive that they have, and we've met with them and we've been around them, and you still don't like them, let's figure out what is making you not like anybody. Because all of our clients are bizarre. We all have to assess their DISC assessment and figure out how to make them happy and identify their love language to make sure we do a good job. And if we can't do that towards somebody who's going to work with us, it doesn't always mean they're going to get hired and we go against that grain, but it is an opportunity to talk to them to say, what is preventing you from being a better businessman and better sales agent? There's only one guy that I've ever hired that I didn't have anybody's opinion. And thank God it worked out, but he's one of my best friends in the world, and I trust him.
That's good. So, where I'd like to transition in the show is your take on AI, because we were talking about it being the future. You've cloned your voice and created 2 avatars. Tell me about it.
Yeah, so I wanted to streamline a lot of different things because I wanted to test to see if the public could see, understand, know the difference, have an opinion. There were just so many things going on in my head of the unlimited potential that these AI programs or any kind of automation can actually do. And what I found is that the more available that it actually is, the less people actually use it, because they figure it's so easy to use. And once I get to it, once I decide to do that, at least it's easy to do, but then they never end up doing it. So cloning my voice and doing these certain types of things are just to figure out how I can put all of these ideas that I have together. I've got an app idea that I'm getting very, very, very close to that I put on hold for about 10 years, but it has everything to do with a lot of the AI stuff that I have to do by longhand, and the way that I list houses and the presentation and everything I do. I'm pretty sure I can automate a lot of it. And my true opinion on AI is that it will take over. But what's going to happen is it's still going to take a human element to show empathy. It's going to take a human to go, hey, listen, in short, the computer is right and here's why. But I know that the intelligence of a lot of people aren't willing to find out what that data says. The computer gets the data out and they go, what do you think about this? And they go, what do you think about this? They go, oh, I don't know what any of that says. So it takes somebody like me to formulate all the AI stuff and go, here's why I use robot Tyler rather than real Tyler.
It's almost the same argument as when Zillow came around. Like, you can get all this information, but what do you do with that information once you have it? It's the same thing. Well, I think avatars are still relatively new enough where we should kind of explain it. So tell me what an avatar is and how you use it.
Yeah, it's basically just a clone of myself. It has the newer ones have a lot of the same mannerisms and hand gestures and movements. They're really set more for advertising and marketing pieces and commercials and repetitive stuff that otherwise I would put my opinion in or filler words and make it sound a certain way, but they're so good that it's not that I didn't say it. And that's weird. It's because my mind always tells me, no, that's still my recorded voice. They're just organizing these words in the way that I'm asking them to. They actually made me say the words that I wanted to say perfectly, which really signifies my professionalism because I want it to be as understood as possible. I don't want it to be ignored because it's automated. And I think that that's going to be a constant struggle and a constant battle because now people are thinking, is this the real Tyler or is it not? Versus what is this Tyler saying and is this information valuable? So the better the technology gets and the more it's acceptable, the more that I'm going to require myself to actually be belly to belly. The more hands you shake, the more money you make. And
You see there being a danger though with this, right? Like you see why everyone's concerned and scared about the direction this could take us.
they don't know how to use it.
They don't know how to use it. I mean, it's not necessarily them knowing how to use it. It's the trust factor, I think, is what I've heard most people who are like I mean, right now you've got videos online of coaches who get up and do an interview afterwards and they're making their mouth say something. And so they're holding accountable to the things that they're not actually saying. And so that's the abuse that can happen with this. And it's so realistic. It's not like a dubbed Mortal Kombat movie.
It is.
So it's not necessarily just them not know how to use it, but like, what do you think about the trust factor?
I don't believe in purposeful manipulation. I think that people that learn professional sales and professional business manners use manipulation with their clients to their advantage, not their disadvantage. And I think a lot of people have the intention that AI is going to let them use manipulation to their advantage instead of being able to explain to clients, hey, it's not me versus you, and it's not you versus the market. It's you and me versus the market. So let's go into this thinking, if I can structure a property description on SEO keywords and a specific demographic that I know based on my experience and number of houses I've sold is going to buy this house, how about I write that description perfectly tailored to SEO keywords and everything you could possibly imagine to find that right buyer, but you're going to discount it because it might be AI. I don't know, man. I don't think people are actually seeing the real the true benefit of how to use it. And we got really lucky. I bought we bought MLSlisting.net, and for the last 10 years, I've always advertised that I can get 3% over market value in 30% less time. So those two things that I have as an advantage, I feel like there's a lot of things working in my favor and all adding up into one big picture that kind of a perfect storm. Knowing all this AI stuff and knowing blogs and website stuff and just studying AI has given me such a huge advantage that I'm years and years and years ahead, or I guess budget-wise ahead, because people do want to learn all this stuff. They really do, but now they know how expensive it is to learn it. And
What's the reason you have two avatars? What's the point of the second avatar?
One moves my hands and one's just my face. And so in order to split up the monotony of those two things, one I'm just wearing a shirt and the other one I'm wearing a polo. So I felt like it was worth it so that I can more normalize and personify, scripts and have people know that I was going to say the same exact thing no matter what. I just recorded this one, like that's the way I'm trying to see it. I don't say anything different on any appointment ever.
How do we know that you're not AI right now?
Why does it matter?
Because AI is not going to give you, if I ask you a question that you haven't downloaded about something that is completely off topic, politics, religion, what have you, and you haven't had a chance to download it, it's just going to assume. I mean, shoot, I've said things that I didn't mean before. Imagine an AI talking for me.
Yeah. Yeah, no, I mean, you're right. If you get the answers that you want and you're not frustrated, God, there are some chatbots out there that are live feeds, and I can upload all my scripts and all my quotes and everything. And it does a pretty damn good job. Zapier Connect really gives you a really good outline on how chatbots work, just on how Zaps work, where you can connect this program to automate this thing that automates this thing, and it kind of goes through a progressionary system, just like a CRM would. And AI is doing the same thing.
Wild, man. So it's definitely a new age. We've had Nick Krem out from Cleveland talking about this very subject of AI. There's so many different tools. If someone who's listening to this and is really interested in that, specifically creating an avatar, where would they go to actually start that process?
I think HeyGen right now is the best one that's out. I used Synthesia about a year and a half ago, so I don't honestly care. If I were to do it over, I'd probably use HeyGen. But CapCut also has avatars that you can use as stock, and they're awesome and they're good. If there are people doing anything on the internet right now and they haven't used CapCut yet, I mean that's the system people are using.
So that's the leader.
It really is. And it integrates with HeyGen very easy too. Same with 11 Labs, which is the voice cloning thing.
Well, that's all the time we have, Tyler. It's been eye-opening to hear you talk about these things. I definitely want to do some more digging on the Avatar, and once we get out of this interview, I'm going to look you up and make sure that this was in fact you this entire time. That has been our show. If you want to impact who is on the show or what we talk about, please send us an email at podcast@realproducersmag.com. Thanks for being on the show, man. I appreciate you.
Of course, I appreciate it.